And one thing that really brought me so much clarity is like, am I doing this out of fear or am I doing this out of love? And it was a question I had to ask myself over and over and over again. So like when I said yes to a commitment, was I doing that out of fear of like what would be the repercussions if I said no? Or was I doing this because like, yes, this feels so good. Like I love this. And it can feel so like elusive when we start to do this in life, but we can really make it that cut and dry. Like, am I making this decision out of love? Okay, then that's your yes. If I'm doing out of fear, like you got to start to learn how to say no. And maybe you start with small things like, am I buying this thing at the store because I love myself and like it feels really aligned, or am I doing it out of fear because I feel like I need this because I'm not enough? That can be a big thing.
Welcome to Hopeful and Wholesome, the show where ambitious women come home to their bodies. I'm your host, Hope Pedraza, and I'm a functional practitioner, human design guide, and expert on all things energy, and your partner in decoding the language of your body. This is your space to reconnect with your body's wisdom, reclaim your energy, and rise into alignment in your health, your business, and your life. Because thriving isn't about pushing harder, it's about learning to listen deeper. So let's dive in because your next breakthrough starts right now. Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. Today I have on the show Dr. Kelly Kessler. She is a licensed physical therapist, a transformation coach, and host of the globally ranked podcast Rewiring Health, the owner of Optimal You Health and Wellness, and a mom of two. She helps high-achieving women recognize and heal from dysfunctional patterns of self-abandonment and the health impacts of stress. Through nervous system regulation and subconscious mind programming, she guides her clients through a personal transformation to step into their power, reclaim their worth, and honor their health and inner peace. We are diving into the conversation around self-abandonment. And if you have no idea what that concept means, I implore you to listen to this episode, because if you think it doesn't apply to you, I can tell you it 100% does. Because if you're a woman, you have a beating heart. You have at some point experienced self-abandonment, whether you know it or not. And so I love this conversation that Dr. Kelly is bringing forward of how self-abandonment shows up in our lives and how this impacts our health, the health impacts of self-abandonment, what it looks like, how we're experiencing it, and a lot of times experiencing it unknowingly or like at a subconscious level, and how we can work to release the beliefs that keep us stuck in this cycle of self-abandonment, and how we can adopt and reprogram new beliefs so we don't get stuck in that same cycle. Such a crucial conversation for you women out there. So let's jump in. All right, y'all. I'm here with Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. And I had the honor of being on Dr. Kelly's podcast as well. And so I think the two of us have a lot to talk about. And I love the avenue that you take to help people heal their bodies. Like we talk about healing the bodies in so many different capacities on the show. And I love the avenue because your avenue is through this idea of abandoning or self-abandonment. And I feel like this is such a great topic and this is so needed right now. And I would love to just start off, if you can, because I feel like there's a lot of different ways that we could identify or define this. Can you define self-abandonment for us?
Yeah, so it's very much an umbrella term for many things in our lives that we can really self-sacrifice. So it can show up where we are in relationship dynamics that we think other people know better than we do. We'll mold ourselves to make sure that we keep the peace with those relationships, even though they feel draining and feeling like we're maybe not equal or on the same plane, or maybe don't resonate with them anymore. Self-abandonment can show up when we are exhaustively working ourselves and just really putting so much effort into things and feeling like we're getting up early, going to bed late, we're doing the work, we're taking care of our kids, and it's just all this go, 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 push, 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 and we never have a moment to ourselves. It can show up where we are people pleasing. So making sure that other people are comfortable and we're not speaking our truth. So we keep things stifled, we keep things suppressed, we keep ourselves small so that other people are comfortable to not disrupt that dynamic. So we don't allow ourselves to actually speak what we feel within ourselves and live an aligned life. And it also shows up with our health. So when we're doing all these things, we don't prioritize our health. So we are not taking those moments of quiet for ourselves. We are not integrating anything into our daily routine. We're literally just in that survival mode of like, okay, I just have to get through this day. I'll take care of it when things settle down, when the kids are grown, or when I change jobs. We're always like waiting for the perfect moment to actually say yes to ourselves, but it doesn't come. And so we just watch our life continue to go on. We're feeling the aches and pains. We're having these sleepless nights. We're noticing it in our skin. We're feeling it in our body, and we kind of just normalize it. Like, doesn't everybody feel like this? And so those are just some of the ways it's showing up in our lives, but it's often those same root causes that are causing us to self-abandon.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's so many ways we do this. And this is one of those really sneaky patterns, because so often we don't realize we're doing it. Because it's been a pattern that's been played out our entire life. Or, I saw our caretakers act the same way, or, society norms, gender roles, all that kind of stuff. So what do you think, like specifically for women, because that's who's listening to this, what do you think is the biggest effect that this has on women in our health, our well-being, just our purpose in life, all of those areas?
Yeah, I really feel like we're stifling our own power. So we're just handing it over. We're handing it over to external authorities, thinking that they know better than us. So we wait until our health declines to the point where like we have to go to doctors, and then we just follow them blindly, thinking that they know better than we do. We don't listen to our own inner voice. So women especially are very intuitive. We know more than we give ourselves credit for, and then we start to lose trust in ourselves. And so when we don't listen to that voice, we start to not trust that voice. And so that's a big thing too that we see, especially with women going through society. And we also see it where it is that unspoken rule of like, we carry the burden of everything. So women are huge on carrying the burden. Like, I see it so much with like so many people in my life, especially women, like the women in my life, that like I'm the number one person that has to do everything for my kids. And if my spouse or my partner does something, that's great. But the burden rests, I don't say burden because it's our kids, but the weight of that pressure rests on our shoulders to hold it together. And not only are you taking care of kids, but a lot of women are working. So we're trying to navigate, how do I work and be 100% at that? How do I show up for my kids and be 100% at that? How do I show up for myself? And that's usually where that gets sacrificed of like, okay, I only have so much energy to go around. Let me just make sure that my kids are taken care of. I have my job, because that's the biggest thing that I have to worry about. And then I'll take care of myself when it's convenient.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I think there's a lot of like self-worth issues there that plays into that. And we've talked about that a handful of times on the show. And I think that, and again, I think that this one can be really sneaky, because I think that there is a bigger conversation happening right now about self-care and women not putting themselves last and blah, 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 all that stuff. But while I think we're having conversations around this more, I still think that it's still pervasive because it's so sneaky, because we don't see it as I'm putting myself last, because we're still like, oh yeah, I, take myself to the gym, and I, whatever it is, I go get my nails done or whatever, but we see as these little things that's the self-care, but it's not really what's the word I'm looking for? It's not really it's not really filling that need.
No.
Right?
It becomes a sense of doing.
Yes,
I'm doing this.
exactly.
I'm doing this. It's checking off the list, but you're not actually being. It's very surfacey when we add all those like self-care practices, but then you add them all and you're like, well, I still feel like I'm exhausted. I still feel like there has to be more to this. How do I continue on feeling like this? I feel empty. I feel like I have a lack of purpose. And so it can be really sneaky, because like you said, you're doing all those things and you're like, well, why don't I feel better? And so instead what we do is we blame ourselves and be like, okay, now I'm doing this stuff and I still feel this way. There must be something wrong with me. And that's the problem. And then it perpetuates the cycle. But what we're missing is that there's something deep down that we're not seeing. Those are the belief systems that we carry, the beliefs that other people and their health and happiness matter more than our own, the beliefs that it is a noble practice to sacrifice ourselves, the beliefs that if I stay silent and the peace is kept outside myself, then I'm safe. And these are all these false beliefs we hold on to, and then our behaviors follow them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the beliefs, and that is the tricky part in all of this. It's the rewiring of that. So, and I think And I think that's the thing too. I wanted to go back to what you said about the doing versus the being, because this is a big one. Because it is, I mean, it is so much of, like, I work with my clients and their health issues, right? It is so much of what causes dis-ease in the body. It's where I tell my clients this all the time, you can be spending $1,000 a month on supplements, but you cannot out-supplement a dysregulated nervous system and the wiring that's happening inside your brain to make you operate in a way that's perpetuating whatever it is that's going on physically in your body. So it's the being. It sounds so simple, but it's not easy. And I think that's where we get, and because a lot of times these are like multi-layered things. Like I know perfectionism and people pleasing are some of those really common self-abandonment patterns. And so all of this gets compounded with, the self-worth. It's just kind of it just gets so convoluted. And so you don't know like which one. So it's just like a compounded thing. So when you're working with clients, like what are some of the steps that you help them take to start this rewiring process?
Yeah. So the first step is working through the body, because we can't change any of those beliefs or going to dive deep into it when we're in survival mode. It's just going to be this resistance we're meeting. So the first thing is we have to create that sense of safety within our bodies. And so many women I work with have been living in survival mode and have been just getting through the day and just ignoring themselves. So they're not in a place where they have this receptivity to change, because again, change can elicit some more of that lack of safety. This is the unknown. So first thing I do is like, how do we create safety in the body, and really tuning into our body, connecting back with our body, listening to our body without judgment. And that is such a big thing of like just being with ourselves. And even that can feel so scary and foreign to so many women who have not done that for years and feel so disconnected from themselves. Like, how do I tap into that? So it's just really slowing down, tuning into our breath, tuning into the heart space, really just noticing what's in the body. Where do I carry my tensions? When I'm stressed, how does that feel in my body? When I'm feeling joy, how does that feel in my body? So just getting to know yourself in your body. And then once you establish that dynamic and you feel a little bit safer in your body, then you can start to dive into some of the belief systems that are driving the behaviors.
Yeah, that's so true. I think that the feeling in the body, that part can be really hard. Like you said, it can be a really hard thing just to be, which is why I think so often women, I mean, just people in general, but women, we resort to the doing because we're really good at the doing. I can just do more. Exactly. I can go get my nails done and my hair done in the gym and say, oh yeah, I'm taking care of myself. Because the doing is the easy part. It's the being and the being with yourself and sitting with all this. There's this book. I don't know if you've read the book. I think it's called The Book of Shadow Work. And I can't remember the author's name right now, but she has this really great journal that goes with the book. And I've recommended it to a couple of my clients because it's kind of the opposite of this. So instead of looking at like, where do you feel joy in the body? It's the shadow side, right? But it's really interesting because when you do take the time to sit with it, journal on it, meditate on it, or however you decide to contemplate it, it's interesting to see where all of these things sit in the body and things that, in the book, in the journal, it asks you a couple of the prompts and some of these feelings. It's like, what makes you feel these specific emotions and then where. So, but it's interesting where you tie things to where you're normally in like a day-to-day routine where it's easy to block that out and you have no idea why you're feeling sad or mad or angry or frustrated or happy or joyful. Like we don't take the time to think about why am I feeling this way and where do I feel it and all of that.
Yeah, we resist it. We're like, no, I can't feel like this. I have to go function. I got to go work. I can't feel emotion. So we just shove it down, but it will come up.
Yeah.
It does come up. And unfortunately, if we keep shoving it down, it comes up through disease, through pain, through chronic pain, chronic conditions. 100%. That's why we have to acknowledge it, because it's when we acknowledge it and allow it to be there that it doesn't persist.
Yeah, no, 100%. So when we're working to kind of rewire some of these things and reframe these things and really take back that power of that, like releasing the self-abandonment, what do you say? Because this is something that, and I just love to hear different experts' takes on this, because we all know, I mean, me and you know, and I think everybody listening knows that the healing process is never a linear process, right? It's never just a straight path to like, it's like the stock market. It's like, as long as you're going up and down on the way up, this is a good trend, but it's the down part on the way up that we start to question ourselves and like, is this working? So I'd love to hear your take on that for people who it's like, we've healed the perfectionist or the people pleasing and the worthiness and all these things. How do you help walk people through that when they're recognizing like, oh, these things are showing back up and I thought I healed this. I thought this was done. I thought I was done with this.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, we'll get right back to the episode. But first, let me ask you this. You've built a vision that others admire. And you've built something that you're really proud of. But behind the scenes, your body feels like it's lagging behind. It just can't quite catch up to your brilliance and your mission that you have. That late night second wind, the foggy mornings, the hormone shifts, the endless push and forcing. You can't strategize your way out of that. And you already know you don't need more supplements. You don't need another supplement stack. You also don't need another side hustle disguised as self-care, because nobody wants to have their health as a side hustle. This is about recalibrating your entire ecosystem. And that's why I created the Quantum Reset, a premium 3-month high-touch healing experience for visionary women who are ready to feel as powerful in their bodies as they do in their business. Inside, we decode your nervous system, your minerals, your hormones. We read your labs like the sacred text that it is, so we have actual answers. And then we pair that with deep energetic recalibration, subconscious release. We use gene keys, we use human design, and true embodied healing. This isn't about fixing burnout, because that's not what we're doing here. This is about becoming the woman whose body is powerful, whose body is completely electric, whose energy, clarity, radiance finally matches the size of her mission. If you know your success isn't meant to cost you your vitality, and you're ready for a science-backed, spirit-led reset, then the Quantum Reset is your invitation. So check the link in the show notes or send me a message on Instagram, and let's bring your body back online with your brilliance. Now, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I don't think you ever heal them. I think they're always there. Like, even for me, I've done years of work on myself, and there's still times that comes up for me. There's still times I see those beliefs, but it's recognizing them and allowing them to have a seat in the vehicle of your life. The thing is that they don't drive the vehicle. They get to have a seat in the back seat. So if there's self-doubt, if there's that perfectionism, if there's that overworking tendencies, so people-pleasing tendencies, like, I still see all those in myself, but they are not as frequent. They don't control me. And I also recognize them. I can remove myself from those patterns and say, like, oh, there it is. Okay, have a back seat. Like, I'm the one driving my vehicle because I have a bigger mission than what perfectionism is trying to do. So I allow them to be there. I see them for what they are. And I recognize that that is part of my journey. There's a reason why they keep showing up. And maybe there is more work that I have to do in those areas. So I actually thank them. Like, thank you for perfectionism for showing up, because you're highlighting where I still have healing to do. And now I can explore that with curiosity and love for myself, rather than being like, what are you doing back? Like, why are you here? I thought I dealt with you already. Like, again, whatever we resist persists, and it's going to continue. But we have to allow all the parts of ourselves to be on this journey. We can't pick and choose, because then we're not fully accepting ourselves for who we are.
Yes, I love that so much. And I love parts work and internal family systems. I don't know if you've ever worked with that. But that's kind of the premise of it, right? Is it's accepting all the parts of us. And I love how you said that just then, because it is us rejecting a part of us. And that's really, I think that's what makes these things persist for so long, is we reject it, rather than, like you said, bringing in curiosity, like, what does this part need? And I love that answer, by the way, too, because I think that really, I think it goes back to kind of like one of the core premises of physics is, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So I feel like the same with the parts of us, like, they're there for a reason. And I think we go into the healing process a lot of times, like, thinking like, yeah, I'm going to get rid of this part. And a lot of times it doesn't work. Like, I would say most of the time, if we're going in with that mindset, it's not going to work, because it's not about getting rid of it. And I think when we're going into it with the mindset of, oh, I need to get rid of this part or shut it down or quiet it or whatever, that's when it starts to poke its head back up, because we haven't really checked in with, what does this part need?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see that with the self-abandonment, especially in like relationships. I'll be like, okay, I'm living my truth. I'm in alignment with myself. And then I'll have, another thing happen where I'll have a relationship and just, things kind of falter, or there's a tension. And I'm like, okay, like, this is that opportunity to say yes again to myself, that, like, I am living by my values. I'm choosing what I accept in my life. I know I'm worthy of my own peace. It's like these opportunities for reminding yourself to come back home to yourself, and that you do not have to relinquish yourself to keep the peace outside yourself. So it's like, even no matter how much work you do, you're still going to have things that are happening outside yourself, demands from other people. But again, it's like you can fall into them and relinquish your own values and your own peace, or you can use it as an opportunity to strengthen the core of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so well put. I would love for you to share some of your own journey in this and how, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go as, you know, as a coach and all of that. And so, I mean, I'm assuming there's a journey that you had of self-abandonment. I'd love for you to share some of what got you here and what led you to put your focus on this part.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many levels to it. And I really, like, in hindsight, I see how much was like moving me towards this direction. I feel like the first pivotal moment that happened was back in 2020. So my husband and I were building our house. We were both working as full-time physical therapists. I was also working part-time as an adjunct professor. We had just had our first son. He was 9 months old at the time. I mean, we were exhausting ourselves, like burning the candle at both ends, living survival mode. Like at the time, if you asked me like what I have to be grateful for, I'd be like, are you kidding me? This is like chaos. Like I saw nothing I had to be grateful for, which is crazy to me because I had so much to be, but I was straight in survival mode. I was living with chronic back pain. I was in just a very dark, like victim mindset. Like what else is going to happen to me? Here we go. It's like, you know, watching the money go out with the house. Like it was a really, really dark time for me. And it became this like blessing in disguise that when the pandemic happened, I got furloughed, my husband got furloughed. So we like, you know, I went from full-time to nothing, and then he went from full-time to part-time. And then like, it really catapulted me into like, oh my gosh, like now I had time. I was at home sitting with my son, and I'm like, I've been physically here, but I have not been here, like emotionally and mentally. And I'm like watching the most precious time of my son's life go, and I feel like I'm not even present for it. And I feel like that was the first wake-up call. I had no idea how to change that, but I was like, I am not accepting this for my life anymore. I cannot continue the way I've been living. And so that became the catalyst of choosing something different. And I felt like my life just became these like breadcrumbs. Like I said yes to one thing, did it, and then it opened up another door, went into that door, opened up another door. So I had no idea what the path was, but I just kept saying yes to opportunities to really invest in myself. And then my brother helped me start my business then. So that also became a big mirror for me to look at the inner work I had to do in order to grow that business. So that was a huge blessing in disguise because I didn't realize how much that gave me a sense of purpose outside myself. And it really just gave the purpose within myself as well. So that was really the big catalyst for my journey. And then the next pivotal point was 2 years ago. So my brother is also somebody who self-sacrifice all the time, working exhaustively, putting others in front of him. And unfortunately, he passed away 2 years ago at the age of 41. And that just rocked my world because it just took time, and it just made me realize like there is no time to wait. Like you have to live now. You have to embrace everything now. You have to take care of yourself now. And like he had so much ahead of him. And so I really feel like, you know, especially with him helping me start my business, like there's such a deep reason for this, that like I've abandoned myself, he was abandoned himself, and like there's so much more to life than living like that in survival mode. So that's really the fuel behind my mission of helping others choose themselves, choose their peace, and really connect with themselves again.
What a great story. Thank you for sharing that. And I love all the breadcrumbs and when the pieces kind of come together. And there's a few things that I wanted to touch on that you said, because I think this resonates, a lot of your story resonates with so many people. Because the first thing you said is you realize, like, you recognize now that you had so much to be grateful for, but in the moment you're like, what the heck, this is craziness. Like I can't. And I think that is that's such a huge nugget of wisdom right there, because I think that happens so much for us when we're not able to be present because we're so dysregulated and our minds and our bodies are being pulled in 20 different directions rather than really focusing on like what's in alignment for me. We miss out on all the things that we have to be grateful for, and all the little things, all the little moments, all the little, you know, glimmers of things that happen throughout the day. And I think that is such, and again, this seems like such a like elementary concept, but it really, I think this is a huge one. Because I think that for those who might be feeling that in the moment where you're like, my life is crazy right now, or you've had kind of a series of traumatic things happen where you're like, my life is a wreck. I've got nothing to be grateful for right now. I mean, that's a huge piece right there of just you making the shift of where have I been abandoning and not being present because I was trying to do all these different things that, you know, weren't in alignment for me. and then having that shift. I think that's such a huge breakthrough right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was like, my experience. And then like you can have that where you can't see anything you have to be grateful for. And then I've also had in my life where I could see the things I had to be grateful for, but then I'm like, why am I still feeling like this? Like, yeah, you have all the external pieces and you're like, but why do I feel so empty inside?
Yes, absolutely.
And so, yeah. And it's just, both of them are really like discouraging for you're like, okay, like I did all the work to put all the things in place outside of me, like got the degrees, I've housed, like all the things that society tells you will make you happy. And then you're still empty inside. And so it's like, it really just, I don't know if you have to, like I had to go through that. And I hope other people don't have to go through so much pain and go through all that process to realize like, oh, that was never the answer. Right. No matter how much I did outside myself, it was never going to give me the peace I needed.
That's it.
Inside myself.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a similar experience in my own journey with burnout is, you keep chasing the thing and then you get to the thing, or at least keep getting closer and closer to the thing. And then you're like, well, why does this feel like it's supposed to feel? Like, why do I feel like, so it really is. And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, what we were saying earlier about the being versus the doing. You can do all the things, but it's who are you being while you're doing the thing? If life was about getting to the thing, I don't know, I think half of us would be dead by 30. It's like, that's the end. The end of the thing is we're in the grave. Like, that's the end of the thing. So, the point is the journey. The point is the learning. The point is the evolution. Like, that's the point of it. And if we're just focused on the doing rather than the being, of course, we're going to feel empty and like we're missing out and we're self-abandoning because we're doing it in that energy of the doing.
Yeah. And it's like we spend so much energy trying to fit the mold of what everybody else expects of us, but we're so out of alignment when we do that. And it's really just when we realize and ask ourselves, like, what do I need? What do I want in my life? And they seem like simple questions, but if you asked me that years ago, I don't think I could have answered them because I didn't know what I wanted. But we have to ask ourselves these questions because that is truly what will lead us down the path that feels right for us. And we have to pursue that without the worry of like how it's going to impact other people. What are they going to think about me? What is the external repercussions of that? And I think that's where we get stuck is like, we're like, oh, I really want to pursue this. This feels aligned. This feels like expansive in my body. But what is someone going to think about that? How is that going to affect that relationship? And I think that's really where we hold ourselves hostage and we prioritize what other people want of us more than what we want from this short life that we have.
100%. Yeah. We're basing our lives building our lives based on what everybody else. That's not, that's never, that's not the vibe. That's just not, that's not it. And the other thing I wanted to speak to is, and I love that you mentioned this, is how your business was kind of this like portal of transformation. And I think, the women listening, they're all high performers and not necessarily all business owners, but there's all high achieving, high performing women. So some career driven and some have businesses. And I think that those who have a business would be nodding and agree because I think when you start a business, you go in to start a business. That's what you go in for. You go in because you have this idea and you want to start a business. I think I don't know of many of us, maybe there are some very enlightened people who do. But I think that so many of us don't understand, like business is entrepreneurship, I think, is the biggest portal of personal transformation a person could ever go through. I just don't know if people really understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't understand when I got into it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like 90% of this is just doing work on myself. Just so I can show up and be the most healed, evolved person so I can help somebody who's maybe 10% behind me right now. And it is such an evolutionary process because you have to expand yourself and be able to hold space for others. And in order to do that, you have to hold space for yourself and really learn about yourself.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It starts with you. And for those listening, and you've mentioned this a lot so far, but just for some maybe tangible things that people can take away, what would you say would be the awareness piece we talked about? So we know that's a big piece of it. But what would be maybe a few steps that people can take to kind of get off the self-abandonment train? Like, let's get off the train.
Yeah. So the big thing is just making it as simple as possible. And one thing that really brought me so much clarity is like, am I doing this out of fear or am I doing this out of love? And it was a question I had to ask myself over and over and over again. So like when I said yes to a commitment, was I doing that out of fear of like what would be the repercussions if I said no? Or was I doing this because like, yes, this feels so good. Like I love this. And it can feel so like elusive when we start to do this in life, but we can really make it that cut and dry. Like, am I making this decision out of love? Okay, then that's your yes. If I'm doing it out of fear, like you got to start to learn how to say no. And maybe you start with small things like, am I buying this thing at the store because I love myself and like feels really aligned, or am I doing it out of fear because I feel like I need this because I'm not enough? Yeah. That can be a big thing. And then another thing is like, check in with yourself. So like I set timers on my phone at like 8, 12, 5, and then 8 again. And I just have like a few words. So like gratitude. So I just think of something to be grateful for, breathe. So I take a moment just to breathe and check in with myself. And then what do I need? So asking myself, what do I need in this moment? Is it a glass of water? Do I need to step outside for a moment because I've been plastered to my chair doing work? Like, what is it? But making those check-ins with yourself and having those alerts come up are really big things to start to change the dynamic and change the pattern that you've been living with.
I love those. Those are so good and so simple. Again, I think we overcomplicate things. We're really good at overcomplicating. So I love how simple those are. Simple but powerful. So I love that. Okay, I have one more question I want to ask you as we start to wrap up here. But before I ask you that, can you let everybody know where they can find out more about you and everything that you're doing in the world, what you're putting out, if someone is looking to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on all social media under Dr. Kelly Kessler. On my website, I have a lot of free gifts. So it's optimalu, YOU, healthandwellness.com. And then you can also find me on my podcast, Rewiring Health. So I have a lot of great, amazing people that come on there and just share so many aspects of holistic health.
Perfect. Of course, I'll put the links to all that in the show notes. So go give Kelly a follow and subscribe to her podcast and find out all the things. And the last question that I want to ask you, that I like to ask everybody, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Yeah, I would say is tuning into yourself and living an authentic life. And what that means is that you are showing yourself unconditional love. And so for so many people who self-abandon, they've probably grown up in environments or lived in environments where things were conditional, that when you perform, you're worthy of love. When you earn enough, you're worthy of love. When people are happy, then you're worthy of love. But if you can start to show up for yourself unconditionally and really come back to that inner child within you and comfort that little girl or boy, and just say like, I've got you, I'm here for you, I recognize you, validate yourself, validate the experience. That is the most beautiful gift you can give yourself and the world, because now you are showing up in a full version of yourself. And that energy just permeates into so many dynamics of life.
Such a great answer. Thank you, Kelly. And thanks this is such a conversation. So thank you for spending time with us and sharing all your wisdom here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yay.